Is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 worth buying in 2023? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Now, this device was launched all the way back in August of 2018, so at this point, the phone is actually nearly 5 years old. Now, I figured I'd make this video to kind of look back on the phone to see if it's still a worthy option. Now, when this phone was originally launched, it was one of the best Android devices out there. It was probably one of the most expensive as well, and it was packed full of various features and various specifications that were really class leading. Now, since then, this phone has been discontinued, so you no longer can buy it brand new. However, if you still want a Galaxy Note 9, you can certainly buy one either refurbished or used. And we'll be leaving some links in the video description to some of my favorite sources if you want to get the device in that condition. One of the nice things with going with a used, refurbished, older flagship phone is that you're still getting a very capable device, but at a fraction of the original MSRP of it. And I know on my channel, I often focus on budget and lower-end smartphones, so it's always a continuous debate on if you should go for a brand new, lower-end phone or a used, older phone. So hopefully this video will give you a little bit more clarity when making that choice. Now with the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, we're getting a very large 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display, and this display does feature Corning Gorilla Glass 5, making it extra durable. Now as far as the AMOLED display that we're getting here, as you can see, there's very great viewing angles, also excellent colors as well, and this display is 1440p, so everything's very crisp and clear. The phone features a PPI 516, we're getting an 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio, and an 83.4% screen-to-body ratio. Now, unlike more modern-day smartphones, there is no hole punch for the front-facing camera, and also no notch to be found. However, the bezels all throughout the phone are pretty slim, and what's cool too is that the bottom and top bezels are almost equal in size, and I'm really curious to know what you think. Do you even mind that there's bezels in the top and bottom of the phone? Do you think that smartphone manufacturers should go back to this form factor instead of giving us a hole punch or a notch? I'm really curious to know. I don't think that this general design is really that outdated overall and is still very functional. The display on the phone also has a slight curve to it, which I know some people don't like and other people prefer, so I'm also curious to know what you think about that. But I think if they re-released the Galaxy Note 9 in 2023 with modern day internals, this overall design would not be obsolete by any means. I suppose the fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone probably should be moved into the display itself, and they should probably give us an extra camera here as well, which I'll be talking about the cameras later on in the video. But beyond that, I feel like this design is still very modern and very practical and very up to date. So overall, I feel like the form factor of the Galaxy Note 9 has aged very well over that 5-year span. Now the 18.5 by 9 aspect ratio is a little bit different from the 20 by 9 that we typically get nowadays with most smartphones. So this phone is a little bit on the wider and shorter side proportionally compared to modern day devices that we typically find. But at the same time though, I feel like the aspect ratio of this display really still does make it very practical, and in some ways, having the stylus paired with a display in this particular form factor here actually makes the phone even more practical than phones that are a bit on the more narrow and taller side. Now, since there is no hole punch to the front-facing camera or notch to be found, the front-facing camera is actually located in the top portion of the phone here. And there's actually two cameras, which is interesting. So there's an 8 megapixel main front camera, but then also a 2 megapixel dedicated iris scanner camera. So this phone does have an iris scanner, kind of interesting, a bit different from how Face Unlock typically works. And I feel like that's kind of a feature that Samsung should bring back to their newer handsets. Now the Galaxy Note 9 was launched in a variety of different storage configurations, but this particular device features 128 gigabytes of storage along with microSD card expansion. So even now, in 2023, 128 gigs is still really good, and there's many brand new flagship smartphones that actually still launch with 128 as being the base configuration for storage. So having that combined with the microSD card really gives you a lot of flexibility if you want to offload photos and videos, for example, and clear those out of the internal space. Another awesome thing about the Galaxy Note 9 is that it does feature wireless charging compatibility, so you can use this phone with your favorite wireless charger. I know for me personally, I have wireless chargers all throughout my home. I have one in my office, I have one in my bedroom, one in the kitchen as well. So that's a very practical feature, and I'm glad it's here. Now, on the back of the phone, we do have a fingerprint sensor. I'm not a huge fan of the placement here. Like I said, I think if this phone was launched in modern day, I would have preferred an in-display fingerprint sensor, or maybe even one on the power button. So this is kind of strange, and then also it's not that easy to reach, but we'll give it a try right now and see how this works. So fortunately, it is very fast and responsive, so in that regard, it's not a problem at all. But again, the placement is kind of strange here, and I also don't really like how close it is to the camera module, as it does kind of make it easy to smudge the cameras if you happen to miss the fingerprint sensor. Now, in addition to the iris scanner and having the fingerprint sensor in the back of the phone, this device also has face unlock. So there are many different methods on getting into the device, which I do find to be very impressive. Now, taking a look at the cameras on the back of the phone, it is a dual camera setup with a 12 megapixel main camera and then a 12 megapixel telephoto camera, giving us 2x optical zoom. Here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is the main camera right now. Then from here, we can zoom in at 2x. So unlike digital zoom, this is a true zoom using the actual lens on the telephoto camera. So 2x is pretty good, but nowadays smartphones have way better telephoto cameras, many offering 5x, 10x optical zoom. I know that the new Galaxy S23 Ultra offers a full 100x zoom, but that does include the digital zoom as well. And then from here, there are a lot of different camera features. And overall, the camera app here does look very similar to the latest version of Samsung's One UI. But let's head over to the More tab, and over here we can access live focus. That's what they used to call portrait mode here in the phone. Now it is simply referred to as portrait mode, but you can adjust the background blur, which is really nice. Then flipping around the front-facing camera, we also get live focus mode for this camera, so you can see a nice blurred out background behind me. This is with maximum blur right now, so you can kind of tone that down if you want to, kind of configure it however you wish. But then we can get out of there and take standard selfies, and also there's an option for group selfies, so it does crop out quite a bit. Now, as far as the camera quality goes with this device, I would say that the photo quality is as good, if not better, than most of Samsung's A series of the modern day. So that is worth considering. So if you're not looking to spend too much on a smartphone, but you still want really good cameras, maybe you do want to consider the Galaxy Note 9. Because especially compared to a lower end A series phone like the A14 5G, you're really getting essentially all the same features. So that's very impressive. And then in addition to that, you are getting 4K video recording with both the front and rear cameras on this phone. Now, getting into RAM and processor. So this device features 6 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845. So when the Snapdragon 845 was first launched, that was one of the best processors out there. So when it was launched, that was certainly a flagship processor. Now, overall, from my general experience of using the phone, even in modern day, the phone is still very fast. Everything runs very smoothly here. But I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores in that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 505 and a multi-core score of 2001. So these scores are still a lot better than many lower-end Android phones that I've been reviewing that have launched even this year. As far as general performance goes with this device, I would say it's pretty good overall, and there's really not much to ask for. Now, battery capacity with this phone is 4,000 milliamp hours. So expect to get pretty decent battery life. Keep in mind though, if you buy this phone used, you won't be getting a full battery with it unless they happen to give the phone a brand new battery prior to listing it for sale. Because batteries do degrade as time goes on, so a brand new phone is really the only way to get a brand new battery unless you do replace the battery. Now this device also features up to 15 watt fast charging, so that's really good as well. So if you do want to rapidly recharge it, then you do have that ability. Now, as far as software goes, I believe there are no more software updates available for the Galaxy Note 9. I know I've been checking quite often, and I just have not seen any. So maybe there's some other versions of the phone that might have more updates available, I'm not sure. But at least for mine, it has pretty much finished out here at Android 10 with One UI 2.5. Now, Android 10 compared to Android 13 isn't that different. Of course, there's a lot of improvements in many ways, but at the same time, if you still want a pretty modern operating system, I feel like Android 10 can still deliver on that. And then with Samsung's One UI, we do get a lot of extra bonus features here added to the phone. Now, this device is IP68 dust and water resistant, which means that it can go underwater for up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. And then this phone does feature NFC, so it is compatible with Samsung Pay. So if you want to use Samsung Pay to do tap and pay payments, then this device will definitely get the job done for you. But now that I've gone over a variety of different things about the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, let's take a closer look at the actual hardware itself. Now I've already talked quite a bit about the front panel here with these larger bezels on the top and bottom of the phone. Again, I do appreciate that they're symmetrical, and overall, compared to the general size of the device, they really don't take up too much space. Now this phone is made completely of metal and glass, so that does make this device extra durable, which I do appreciate. As you can see, for a phone that is quite old, the device still looks very new here and certainly doesn't appear to be very beat up. Now, if you do want to pair up the phone with a case, I still do highly recommend that, as I'm not sure what would happen if you were to break the display on the phone. I don't think there's really too many places nowadays that offer repairs for the Galaxy Note 9. But on the left side of the device, we have volume up, volume down. We also have a dedicated Bixby button. So I know a lot of people don't care for Bixby, but if you do, there's a dedicated button for that. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button. Then up top here, we have the noise-canceling microphone and also a slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, speaker, and the stylus. So since this is a Galaxy Note device, the stylus is one of the signature features, and it does feature a pop-out, pop-in design here. And then I remember when this phone was first launched, people thought it was pretty cool that the pen is yellow. It does also feature a button on it, so there are some different abilities here that are more advanced compared to lower-end stylus-equipped phones like the Moto G Stylus, for example. But when you take the stylus out, you can access a lot of different features here, so you can view your notes, Smart Select, Screen Write, Live Messages, AR Doodle, and even more. And in the Play Store itself, there's a lot of different stylus-compatible apps too. So there's a whole ecosystem kind of surrounding the stylus. But you can see also that there is a little cursor that when I hover the stylus over the display, it is followed here. So overall, a lot of really cool things you can do with the stylus. In addition to creative work, you can sign documents, you can navigate around the phone with it. Overall, I just feel like it's a great thing to have, and it doesn't really cause any sort of inconvenience because it can stow neatly in the actual device itself. And then on the back of the phone, we have the dual camera setup, as I mentioned. We have the flash, also a heart rate sensor, which is pretty cool right there. The fingerprint sensor, Samsung logo, and then Galaxy Note 9 branding. And then the back of the phone is a glossy glass finish, and it is a little bit reflective as well. And in general, I think this is a pretty cool color for the device. But overall, is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 worth it in 2023? I think it depends on a few things. First thing is, if you're okay with no 5G support, this phone of course does not have that because 5G didn't exist when it was launched. So you won't be getting access to your carrier's latest and greatest network, which is a bit unfortunate. The second thing to keep in mind is the software, because this phone does max out at Android 10. So if you do want the newest version of Android, or if you want to get the newer versions of Android coming out in the future, you can't do that here with this phone. And then finally, the last downside is if you buy this phone refurbished, or if you buy it used, just know that you're not going to be getting a brand new battery with it, unless that is specified in the actual listing. It can be a bit frustrating using a smartphone with an older battery that can't really hold up quite as well, as you will have to recharge the phone very often. But most importantly, I'm curious to know what you think about the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 in 2023. Do you think this phone is still a good option? Yes or no? Certainly let me know. But with all that said, I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.